Hello, this is a video about triads. You may or may not know this term. I've probably thrown it around in lessons a couple times, but now's a good time to kind of unpack what this means. So what do I mean by triad? Really what I mean is a combination of three notes. So if we have three notes as a triad, the end, and usually the way we think of this is a chord. So I could have like three notes like this, C, E, and G. If I play these all at the same time, boom, C chord, C major chord in particular. So that's what we're going to talk about today. How do we find these triads, different types of triads, and how do we use them? So let's get right into it. First thing we need to discuss is minor thirds and major thirds. So if you watch my major scale video, you might understand the difference between major and minor seconds, but now we need to talk major and minor thirds. So if minor second is the smallest interval you can have, there's no note in between, you can't get any smaller. Major second's the next biggest one, you have exactly one note in between. Well, we have our next two intervals, minor third, where we skip two notes, then major third, where we skip three notes. This is important because this is how chords are built, in particular triads, three-note chords. So let's just start with some terminology. I'll put it here. So if we have a minor third, so that's a little m, that means we're going to skip two notes. So I'll just go ahead and write that, skip two. If we get a major third, it's a big M, and we're going to skip three. So let's do a little bit of this. I'll go over it on the keyboard real quick because this can get people a little mixed up. So it's like major and minor second, major and minor third. We don't care if the notes are black and white. We either skip a note or we don't. Color doesn't matter. So for example, this may look like we're just skipping one note here, but we're not. We're skipping three. We get all three of those in the middle. So this is where it gets a little confusing. If I do this, boy, that looks really similar, but I'm only skipping two this time. So in this case, this is a major third, the big M. I'm skipping three. Here it's the minor third. I'm only skipping two. So the way chords work is we stack minor thirds and major thirds on top of each other. What I mean by that, a C major chord. Right here we get a major third, then a minor third. So we skip three here, skip two there. When you get the two combined, you get a major chord. So in order to find chords, it's really important to know the difference between a major and minor third because that's really how they're built. So whether it's major, minor, augmented, diminished, we'll get into all this stuff. It's all the same principle. So right now would be a good time to maybe get on your theory exercises or make sure you really understand this before I move on. Okay, you understand it now. So let me move forward. And we're going to go chord construction, triads in particular. So let's just talk about C major and how with C major, we get the notes C, E, and G. It's a nice happy sound. And again, you might know if you've been with me long enough, if we drop this middle note down a half step, we get C minor. So major, minor, or really we could kind of think happy, sad, maybe not necessarily, but that's kind of how we start to categorize it in our brain. So what we really did here is between these two notes, this was a major third, aka we skipped three notes. And between these two, it's a minor third. We're only skipping two notes in between those two notes. But if we check this one out, it actually flips the order. We get a minor third first, then a major third. So by dropping that middle note from E to E flat, it actually switches the order. We went three here, two there, two there, and three here. So that's really the only difference between major and minor chords. So if you learn all your major chords, you can basically figure all your minors out by dropping the middle note down a half step. Now with this being said, there's two other chords that emerge. So first of all, let me chart down the ones we had. So we had major. So a major chord, aka major triad, consists of a major third, then a minor third. So unlike math, the order matters, but ultimately we'll get a major chord. So for example, we might see that in our music. Just a C major chord, good to go. Minor chord would be the opposite order, minor third plus a major third. So in our music, we might see like a C minor chord. So this begs the question, if we could have a major plus a minor and a minor plus a major, couldn't we have a minor plus a minor, then a major plus a major? And the answer is yes, we absolutely can. So if we have augmented, that's our major plus major. Oh, kind of ran out of room here. Big M plus big M. So that means we're skipping 3 notes in between. In our notation, we might put like a plus sign to show you that it's bigger. And then we'll have diminished. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little smudgy over here. Which is the other one, minor third plus a minor third. And then we usually do this little circle here that kind of looks like a degree sign. So there you have it. We get 3 and 2 that we skip, 2 and 3 notes that we skip, or you can go 3 and 3, or 2 and 2 there. All right, so let's play around with this a little bit. I don't think I need this thing anymore. So if we're looking at the keyboard, we're saying C major is this, where we get a gap of 3, then 2, then we can flip it, gap of 2 and 3. But what if I make C my root note, and I skip 3, then I'm gonna skip 3 again, 1, 2, 3, and that puts me here. Oh, that's the augmented one, 3 and 3. So augmented means to make it bigger. So we could think we have a major chord, then we're gonna make it bigger. So I'm gonna expand it this way. So it's almost a major chord, but then we get this wacky top note. So when we extend the sound out, we might get like kind of like a dream sequence thing. That's usually the example I tell people. You know, remember that time when we were doing our piano lesson? And then you get the flashback. That augmented usually has that sound, whereas major has a really typical, you know, C, E, G, C, E, G, C. Really nice clean sound, whereas minor has a pretty stereotypical sound as well. So Beethoven used a lot of minor, kind of has that sound. So when I'm thinking diminished, that's our last triad, I need to skip 2. So if I start on C again, I skip 2. So I'm skipping these 2, and then I'm going to skip these 2 and I end up here. So I get C, E flat, and G flat. This to me sounds a little more sinister. So the reference I usually use is like the black and white cartoons. You know, what will a hero do? You get a little more of that sinister sound. And then we say it's diminished. So to diminish something means make it smaller, right? So I already have a minor chord, but if I make it even smaller, I get diminished. And that's again 2 and 2. So these are really important chords to remember because we kind of get all these variations that change over time based on how we stack our notes. So the next video I'm gonna do is how these chords naturally occur in certain situations and how they function and how they sound and what we do with all this information. All right, good luck.